Hello, everybody, to today's webinar, in which I will run you through kind of like the way how you can use Shaper to create bent plywood-based furniture. And I will try to show you the steps, how I set up a scene, and then create, for example, the legs, create the bent plywood shells, and then we will also perform some cuts into the shells, and we'll talk a little bit about manipulating and direct modeling and changing the design. Okay, so let's start with a new design. First thing, as always, I will tap onto the cube, go to units, and all my measurements right now are in inches. So I set this up, and I will go to a right side. The first thing I will do is place a background image, a sketch I created. So I have kind of like a side view with some basic proportions. To add a background image, we can tap Add on the left side, then select Image. I have a file uploaded into my iCloud, and there is the image. I can adjust the transparency a little bit, and for the moment, I just click OK. The whole base, as you can see, is 21.3 inches wide. To scale now the image to the correct dimension, I will make myself a reference line of 21.3 inches, and then I will use that to move the image to. I will check that I have my grid snapping turned on. That's actually very useful. So from the center of my scene with the pencil, I will draw a line, and I make this line 21.3 inches. Very good. And to have the start and end of the line a little bit more visible, I'll create myself just some small vertical lines. Very good. Okay, so now we can see that this image is way too big. We have to scale it down and position it. To reposition and scale the image, you can just go to Transform, Move. With the pencil, select the image. And I will, with the pencil, select the dot and just move it to where the end of this line is. Now with images, because they're pixel-based, as you can see, when you zoom in, it gets very pixelated. We cannot work very, very precise. So everything here is a little bit more, I don't want to say suggestive, but we don't have to be super precise because this is more like an idea giver. And then via the lines we draw in Shaper, we do it more perfect anyway. So this is pretty well positioned on the left side. And the main reason why I put this onto the left side is you see in the lower left corner on the image, there's a yellow icon. And if I move this one, I can scale the image. And all I have to do is just scale it till the front leg starts to line up like this. Okay, this is very good. Great. The image is really well positioned now. The easiest one to start to build are the legs. So with the pencil, I can start drawing a line. And I have tangent arcs for the corners. So I will draw myself some additional lines here and there. There, this snaps back to the line. And at this moment, I will turn snapping off, so I can position the endpoints of my lines a little bit more freely. This line I will make horizontal. So by moving one point only up, I actually move the whole line vertically up. There, very good. Let's go to this corner, move this one to there. Okay, great. These initial lines I created, I can now select and remove. I don't need them anymore. Also, the lines I created, I do not want to move a lot. So what I will do is these endpoints I will select and then select the lock icon. So even when the angle of those vertical lines will change when we are going to add the arcs, the start points won't change. Okay, so let's zoom in here. And with the pencil, I will start drawing an arc with a curve motion and connect the left to the right point. And you see on the left side, a tangent constraint was automatically added. I want to do the same also between the arc and the horizontal line. I select them with the pencil, and then on the left side, I can select tangent. Very good. And here I will do the same. I will draw from the left point and then snap it to the right point. Great. I want to have more control over the arcs. I can tap an arc and then specify, for example, the radius. And this one I will move up a little bit more. There. Very good. What radius do we have here? That is a 2.6. I will just leave it at this point. Okay. So the line, sorry, the background image right now is a little bit in my way. So I will go to the groups, images, and hide it. So the next step, what we have to do is we have to create a pipe or a profile that we will sweep across this, this profile. Now, one logical step might be to think, because we started drawing everything at the center of the world, and we have a diameter for the pipe of, let's say, 1 inch to 0.75 inches, I could go to the top view, simply create myself a ring, and then I position this ring, and here maybe say 0.35. And all I have to do now, if I go into perspective view, so I move this one onto this line, and then I move this point till the right edge actually lines up. Maybe I go to this view, it's probably easier. Till the right edge, or the circle lines up nearly with the world center. Okay. And I will show you the problem what we will face now. So if we go to tools, because we know we can use this actually with the sweep command. So we sweep this profile along this line. Let's click OK. So if you look from here, this looks pretty good. But if we look from the side, we can see that actually this is rotated. And that is because the relationship between the original line for the path and the circular cross-section is not perpendicular. So this idea was good, it just doesn't work. So what do we do instead? We want to create the pipe to be perpendicular to that, that path. So we have to create a construction plane that is perpendicular to this line, and onto that construction plane, then we will create the circle. To do this, we can go to Add, Construction Plane. I will zoom out a little bit. We click on Type, and we want to have perpendicular to an edge. There. Then we can select the edge, click Next. And by clicking onto it, there you see it positioned a construction plane. And this dot I can click and move up and down, and I bring it down to the start. Click done. And there you see there is a plane that is perpendicular. I can select it and with my finger double tap on it, and now the view, if I rotate my view, you will see everything got rotated or aligned, whoa, sorry, to that path there. Now you can see actually that the chair looks like it's rotated. Okay, so onto this plane or new grid, we can draw that circle. So let's do that. There it is. And I'll move it to here. 0.35. Actually, we make this maybe 0.4. It's a little bit bigger. And then we move this one over till there. Okay, good. So in furniture design, this pipe is a stock material which will be bent over shapes and then cut. So everything will have a little bit of wiggle room. So if we off by a fraction of a millimeter, this is not really a big problem, which is why here in this case, I just move the circular profile close to the path. And then we can do the same again. Select the sweep. There's the sweep command and the sweep profile. And now we select the path. Click done. Perfect. To go back to the original views, we can simply go to the view cube and select right under views. So this is pretty good, as you can see. Great. 2 steps we should do before we continue. We want to round the edges, for example, a little bit. Before I continue, I will also here hide this construction plane and the sketches. So you see when I'm selecting, I select this bottom edge and give this a 0.25 or maybe a 0.15 fillet. Very good. I will do the same also on the other edge. And then I will show you another nice feature already for direct modeling in Shaper, because the problem we have right now is, as you can see, they have different sizes. So the ends of the legs do not necessarily sit on the ground yet. And to do this, all I do is go to transform and move and go to here. This is an auto orientation. And then I move this one a little bit up. And let's go back to right. So you see I moved it a little bit above the plane, and now I slowly just snap it back till it lines up, like there. Very good. Click done. Great. So you see with the direct modeling, I select the fillet and the cap. And then when I go to the move command, I have this auto orientation turned on. I snap it to this face. And this way I simply shorten the leg, including the fillet, without adjusting the radius of the fillet. So, and there. Very good. There. Great. Okay. So every chair has 2 legs. We need to make a copy of this leg. And the chair I have is the chair I want to build has a width of 17 inches. This one is built at the center, so I have to move it over 8.5 inches one direction. I go to your top view, go to move, and double click everything. Then I can move this one over by 8.5. Very good. I can turn on copy and move this one over by 8.5 there. Good, there we are. So now we have these two legs positioned. Obviously, the legs have to be secured under the shell. So what we would do in this case is create a crossbar construction. So I go back to the right view and I will create myself a small ring there. Maybe I will set to 0.3 diameter, and this one I can then position where I need it. I will go to the top view for the moment there. Good, so it's easier to navigate. And with this selected, including this part, I will just extrude it out by 8.25. You see that actually then the object is being removed because the extrude command right now switched to the cut command. So we'll adjust this to 8.5. Okay, and then on the left side, you see there is a small icon. I can click on it and I can say union or intersect, and I want to have just a new body like this. Very good. I will turn my sketch off for a moment, go to the move command, select just this face, and this face I will move to the other side, 8.25. Very good. Maybe a double click on the whole object, and then I move this one back, go to copy and move this one forward. Very good. So in the model making shop, then we can take these parts, measure it, cut it, and then we weld it. That's not something we can just or should model. The way how this right now is actually perfect. So we built our leg construction. That was the easy one. So now how do we do actually the bent plywood shell? Before we continue, let's go to the groups and organize our scene a little bit. I will call this one legs. Then I will make a new group. Call this one shell, and then hide this one. You can go back also to sketches. This is, for example, the leg diameter, and let's say this is actually the side profile. Very good. Then we go back to a right view. At this point now, I will bring back the visibility of my background image, and we will work on the easier shell for the moment. And then if we have time, I will show how we can actually do the more complicated shell, which has actually the lumbar support built in. To start here, do we have grid snap turned off? Yes, we do. That's good. So I will just draw myself a line, kind of like there, and another line there. This is horizontal. I will add an arc here again. Make sure everything has tangencies. Difficult word for me to pronounce. I'll zoom in a little bit more and then just I get this one closer. You saw when I got too close, it snapped it, which is not what I want. And from here, I continue drawing an arc out and maybe push it down till there. Tangency is added. Very good. The material thickness, let's say 1/2 inch. These chairs, for example, should be for the school, so they have to be a little bit sturdy. To build basically the shell, we need to have solid sketches. So we need to create the missing top surface sketch. And I don't want to draw everything by hand, so I will use the offset command and offset this line by -0.5. I will do the same, for example, here, -0.5. I will do the same here, -0.5. That just actually there, the lines and the arc perfectly line up, they touch each other. So it's very important that here we really use the same values. Good. Okay, then we can now close the sketch by, let me maybe turn off this image so you can see what I'm doing. I will select this point and this point, and then there draw a line in between. And one more time, and there we are. Very good. So this is actually a little bit, while we drew this one centered, this is actually the side profile, left and right. So we have to make a copy of this and move it away from the center plane by 8.25 each direction. So we go to transform, move, and select the sketch, turn, make a copy on, and then 8.5, very good, and 8.5 the other direction. Inside the groups, and when we go to sketches, you will see we have the other sketches added too, because we moved them away from the grid, because then it didn't line up with the side profile sketch anymore. Shaper automatically created new sketches for us. So this is, for example, the right, and I can call this one left. Also here in terms of names, just use names that make sense. Don't spend too much time making them too complicated. You want to be always very quickly able to identify what sketch is what. And then we can close this, because this sketch now we have to modify. So the backrest we have to rotate a little bit backwards. And there are some pretty nice additions recently added to the sketch engine in Shaper. So what I will do first to show you is I will select this line and this line. And you see it shows you that these lines are apart 0.5 inches. If I say yes, that is good, Shaper automatically also added to parallel constraint, because I drew these lines being parallel. For example, here it's the same. Now these lines are parallel. And now I want to be able to very quickly adjust the way how everything rotates. Before I continue, I have to make sure that everything has tangent constraints too. For example, those did not, because the offset command didn't add that to it, because I just offset each individual element. And if I now select, let's say, this point, what happens when I move it? Whee! See that? Awesome. So I can rotate this one, and Shaper adjusts the whole sketch the way how I want, and it does not move the other parts. So I don't have to secure, in this case, everything anymore. This line and this line is secured via the distance constraint. The distance between these two lines is defined. Also, this line to this line, it has actually a perpendicular constraint. the same here and here, which is why when I move this point, the other line, so this one, follows with it correctly. In some cases, if the sketch is a little bit more complicated, we could go ahead and let's say this is a horizontal line, and that will not change, so I will lock it. Okay, good. Oh, I don't know how much did I move everything. So I can bring back my original view of the other sketches and then select this point and move it backwards a little bit. Good. So let's go to a top view. And then we will turn on the left sketch 2. And we will create the shell. We have now 3 close profiles, so we can loft between them. We can go to Tools and then select Loft. Go to an easy view where we can select profile 1, 2, and 3. So outside to the center to the outside. And then we can observe, does this bend enough? Is this enough? Do we want it to look more? I don't know yet. So in this case, I will make myself a new shell. I will go, I will make a new group. And to that, I will put a new shell. I will go to a side view, select maybe this point and move it a little bit to there. And then I will do exactly the same again. So loft and 1, 2, and 3 there. And then I can compare, for example, do I like this one? Do I like this one more? This actually feels better. So that one is out. So that's another very nice part about direct modeling compared to systems that are more functional based on constraints. I can very easily make copies, move them around, and then compare them. Also looks pretty good. Okay, very nice. Let's take a look at this together with the legs. No, it's not too shabby. That's pretty nice. Okay. As a tip, also for filleting and rounding edges, this is a step I would always do at the end. And this I will maybe call shell raw. So I will never really work with this one. The reason for that is if I now make myself a new group, call this one shell, and either via copy and move, or in this case, I make in a quick new object. I can now, for example, play a little bit with the details. So let's say this edge and this edge and this edge and this edge I would like to round, maybe by 0.5. Okay, not too much. This is pretty fast. So these adjustments are not really very time consuming. But let's say I start having more cuts that go into the back crest. I would like to make this more visually appealing to students or children to sit on. And then I have all these sharp corners like those. I want at one point, obviously, when this part is built, have this be filleted too. Oh, that fillet is way too big. Maybe 1, 2, 5. So the filleting command here still perform really fast, but then with the other details, it will be more complicated, which is why I create myself raw parts and then I cut, for example, parts into it. And then at the end, I add all these fillets. undo actually the step till there. So I talked about cuts. This is another interesting topic to look at. Let's go to the side view. We can see that the backrest is actually rotated and bent. So I would like to cut something out. But then what direction do I cut, left to right, or do I angle it? And we could create a construction line and then another construction plane, draw it on it, which makes sense, but it's actually way too complicated. We can simply go to a front view. And let's say I will create myself just a line there, maybe another line. And then I will close this. Both I make perpendicular to each other like this. Okay, very nice. There. To make sure they all line up. I can, for example, say you and you should be parallel, you and you be parallel. You see that it pulls everything up. So pretty easy step. Could actually also do this without a line. So here I will remove this one, you and you be parallel there. And then, oops, wrong constraint, sorry. I need the perpendicular, and here make this perpendicular on and step by step the pattern gets thinner and thinner and thinner. Great. This I would like to be cut out of the shell. What I will do first is I will select the fillings and extrude it sufficiently. And then I can go to the right side and simply rotate the object. So instead of moving sketches onto different planes, I rather use the vertical, horizontal, and views to make the sketches, and then I can move the objects. So you. Very nice. I will move this element back to, for example, there. You see now it's snapped actually to a different orientation. Actually, the rotation is now perpendicular to my view. And now I can rotate this one. Oh, let's say this looks like this. If I want to cut something out at the side, maybe I rotate it a little bit more to this edge. Let's say there, then we can go to the front view, move it over to there. Okay, good. And we have to move it backwards. A little bit there, a little bit there. This is maybe also a little bit too big. So let's scale this down. Very nice. Okay, good. Select done and go to tools and then subtract. And from this object, I would like those to be cut. Ta-da! There it is. I can now go ahead and round these edges. I will select all those corners here. Or I could, at the beginning, have applied fillets to the object I cut. So you can have a lot of flexibility there. Very nice. But let's say well, this position isn't really ideal yet. I would like that to change. So go back to a simplified version. Oh, and I see when I double clicked everything, it selected everything. So here I will just select those faces there, and then I go to a different view and I show you which faces I'm talking about. There and there, very good. So those faces selected. If I go to the move command, I will go to the front. I can reposition them. You see, everything recuts. Pretty awesome. Direct modeling in Shaper 3D. It's really nice. Obviously, I have to make sure that when I move these parts to a different position, that, how could I say that? I do not move them to where maybe the original object that cut the space would not intersect with the shell anymore. And that is the reason when I extruded those, I didn't extrude them small, but made really big slabs. So I overbuilt. So wherever I move later, this cut through the shell, I always make sure that actually there's plenty of material to recut. Because essentially what the direct modeling here does, it is redoing the trimming for us automatically. Great. Since we're talking about direct modeling, there's one element I would like to adjust too. With the backrest, I don't really like this fillet here. So I delete it, it's gone. I will also select this fillet for the moment, delete it. And I would like to change the way how this top profile looks. I don't like it anymore. Front view and draw myself maybe an arced surface, go to there and there and there. Very nice. And then I push it through and cut. So in this case here, now you see I just placed the sketch behind and then I cut it. And from the front, that looks pretty good. Let's go to a right view. That can still work, but you see that this surface is horizontal. And ideally, maybe it should be a little bit more rotated because these edges you see they're not 90 degrees or perpendicular to each other. But essentially, I can use also sandpaper and cut it and smooth it out. Or in 3D modeling, I could have rotated that part. But the reason why I did not rotate the part is I wanted to show you another nice quick adjustment. So I did this cut, and maybe the shape I do not necessarily 100% like. So maybe I do it like this. And I re-extrude the part where you see it doesn't obviously cut. And what I can do now is say, shoot, one moment. I have to move this maybe up a little bit so it's easier to see. Let me hide the sketch. The sketch is in my way. So this surface, I would like to kind of like follow this surface. And there's a command to do that. So I make sure that this is covering everything. And this command is called replace face. Now select this face, and I would like that to be replaced by this other face. So click next. Select one. Click done. And there. It got adjusted to it. And this one I can then delete. So we don't need to do an undo or recut we just simply, via the replace face, do that automatically. Very good, there we are. And now we can go back and clean this up a little bit and rotate, for example, those edges maybe a little bit. And since this goes down further, I will round this one a little bit more. And on these 3 cuts are a little bit too high. I could select all these faces and then use the move command and move it down. Very good. Okay. So we are running a little bit short on time. So instead of redoing the whole sketch, I will simply go to this design here and show you what I did. I'll make a new group. There are my legs, and there are my sketches. Because this shell has actually a lot of rounded edges for the lumbar support. And instead of making the sketch very complicated, as you can see, I made very linear sketches. Let me pull back this image and then go to a right side. And even in my drawing, you can see that I have sketches that show the curved version, and then very thin. For example, kind of where I tap, there are also the lines without any edge rounding. And that is what I use to create those lines. Because then later the corner point I will round. Now, how do you round it? Because we have a material thickness of 0.5 inches. So the outside and the inside fillet will be having a difference of 0.5 inches. And that's really all to it. So let me show this sketch too. Then I will hide this one. Okay. So you see that the center one is a little bit more rotated backwards. And then we do the same. We go to Loft, select this filling or profile, this one, click done. And there we have it. So this is very, very boxy. And I will start filleting everything from the inside, so the concave area or convex, if you want to call it. Let's see, I push this one till maybe 2. And this then will be 2.5. Yeah. And this way you make sure that material thickness is maintained the same and you have nice parallel curves. Let's go to this edge. Round this quite a lot, maybe 8. This looks good. And do here 7.5. Actually, that's an 8.5. Yeah. Let's go. There you are. So I could have actually created all these sketches with the rounded corners too. But it's more work, and I really found through the years of working in digital design, keeping the sketches as simplistic as possible very often is a time saver, particularly when let's say I don't really like the shape of the way how this shell turned out, and I go back to the center sketch. Now, if I want to adjust everything, I only have to deal here with lines. I don't have to deal with lines and arcs and splines. And all the rounding I later do in solid modeling simply via fillets. that's kind of like the beauty behind it. And because I also do the rounding via fillets, I can still adjust the shell. So let's say this is too big. I could go ahead and say, well, this should be not 2.5. I want this one to be 1.5, and select this fillet and say 1. There, done. You cannot adjust sketches that fast in direct modeling compared to simply modeling it differently. Okay, this kind of sums up what I wanted to show today, a little bit about how to plan ahead the sketches, how to modify the sketches, work on different planes so we can loft the shell, the different shell types, how to do the modifications to the shells, cut parts, move parts, we cut, or for example, use a replace face to change the up profile or wherever you want to do it.